Yeah, just feel good about where we are as a team. I think we've are growing and growing in the right direction. We're still becoming one unit, realizing what our strengths and weaknesses are. We're getting better week to week. I did see some growth from us in terms of how we handled adversity last week. When you look at the tape, you're like, on the field, in real time, you're like, man, we got a lot to work on. But then you say, man, we're really close. So we just got to continue to harp on the little things. All the things that we're doing offensively, defensively is starting to show up. We just got to still chop wood and carry water. And, those old cliches that you hate to use, but it's just so tried and true. You just got to stay with it, believe in it, continue to work hard, not give teams opportunities, not help them in terms of our penalties. So that was a big thing of emphasis, and those things can be corrected. This week is going to be Louisville is a great opportunity, a great challenge for us to go on the road in an awesome environment against a high quality opponent. You look on this tape, you look at the roster this team is built to compete for a championship in their conference and possibly be a playoff team. The way that they look, on the depth chart, it's really speaks to you. They got some dudes on that side, both sides of the football. They do some great things. Holistically, they're well coached. They play aggressive, and they're battle tested. That's what jumps off to me is that you look back at last year, certainly the teams that they played and who they beaten last year into this season, they're a battle tested group, and they can get after you. So it's going to be an awesome experience, an awesome opportunity for us to go out and compete against them and come away with the victory.
Coach Michael Burrow with the Toledo Blade. Obviously, their running back, Isaac Brown, really explosive back. What impresses you the most about him from watching him on tape?
Oh, man, just that. You give him a seam, listen, like Gail Sayers used to say, all he is 16 inches of daylight. That's all he needs. It's just 16 inches. and he's explosive. He can make you pay. So it's going to be important for us to corral him. Everything starts with the running back. Isaac Brown, he's just a sophomore. He might have a room at the Heisman House one day. That's the way it looks on tape. But he's a phenomenal back. Doesn't get discouraged when the game isn't necessarily going his way. Through 4 quarters, you look at JMU, they bottled him up until he had that one explosive, and everything else just went from there. And again, you've got to have gap integrity. It puts pressure on you to be right almost every single time. The moment that you're wrong, it's hell to pay. So you got to be real disciplined in terms of your gaps and making sure you get him down.
Jacob Harris had his first collegiate touchdown, I think right in front of his dad, Josh. Between them, you and Eric, even the Vandermeers and the Garcia brothers, what do you think of just all these family connections within the program?
It's a family affair. I don't know if it was intentional, but that's what it is. It's awesome that you can have, I can coach my son, and the AD has a son on the team, and Jacob Harris's father, who's played here, is behind him, and it's awesome to see that the brothers, Rico and RJ Garcia, are also playing with each other. It's great to see that. It's for me, it's a dream come true. For me to coach my son throughout his entire college career, watching him grow each and every year as a man and as a player, and this is awesome, man. So I'm glad to be a part of this.
Mark Kuntz, BCSN. Keeping with this family theme, is it difficult to distinguish being a coach and being a father with Eric?
No, it's not difficult at all. How I coach and how I father are similar. I try not to talk about ball when we go home, but football is a part of our lives. And ever since he was a baby, he had a football in his hand, much like I had. And we always talk about the game of football, whether it's back then it was Ohio State or the Titans, or going to games, playing the video games. We've always talked football, both my sons. So it's deep in our blood. So I tell him I'm proud of him, that he's good enough. He can do all things if he just believes in himself and his God-given abilities. Challenge him to be better off the field as well. When I see opportunities to coach him and father him and give him advice, I'm going to do just that. I don't bite my tongue at all. So it's all in all, it's all the same thing.
You mentioned the 13 penalties. As you went back and looked at the film, are those all correctable? What's maybe your philosophy on penalties? Are there some acceptable penalties, or do you believe a perfect game is 0 penalties?
Well, nine of those penalties were pre-snap, and that's stuff that we can control. Staying on sides, making sure that we have the right personnel group in. When you look at the end game, there might be some holding issues we have to resolve, but we preach that every day. We talk about attacking with the breastplate, target, thumbs up, tight elbows, and that almost assures you're not going to get a holding penalty. So the proper technique is taught every day that we're here. So we didn't necessarily see a lot of that, but the jumping off sides, and that was unusual for that offensive line unit to have that many during the course of the game, because we haven't done it in practice. We haven't done it all year. There was just something different, I guess, about the atmosphere. Could have been the excitement of homecoming, a little antsy, but those are drive killers, and we've seen enough of that. We get the ball, we're moving the ball methodically down the field, getting into scoring position, and then we jump off sides, and then we have to set up for a field goal, and then we have to jumpstart the offense yet again. We lost a rhythm because of way too many situations where we're 1st and 15 or 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 18 because of penalties, and those are tough to overcome. We were able to overcome some of those things, but you're generating a lot of energy just getting the chains moving and staying ahead of the chains. So we certainly cannot do that this week against this unit, because they thrive off of your mistakes. Last year, Louisville had 34 sacks. This year, through 2 games, 2nd in the country in sacks, 10 sacks in 2 games. So this unit is experienced. They're very aggressive, and we cannot help them in that situation. So we're going to have to be very efficient offensively, 1st and 2nd down. So that has to be corrected.
Coach Cudcorp, the morning show. Follow up on that a little bit, the offensive line. You may have already answered my question, but that was going to be one of the strengths of this team. Obviously, a lot of senior leadership there. Are you surprised to be having this discussion with the offensive line right now?
It happens. I think when you have a new quarterback who's still finding his rhythm with the offensive line, some new nomenclature and terminologies that's being used, that could happen. They're very critical of themselves. I know after the victory, I noticed that some of the O-linemen were not particularly pleased with their performance and the amount of penalties that we had. They hold themselves to a high standard, and that's good. That you can have a victory and feel like, hey, we won, but we're not satisfied. We know we left a lot of opportunities out in the football field, and for that unit to take that accountability, I love it. So I'm hoping that they can put it together this week and have a sound week of practice. I'll be clean and go out there and put our best foot forward.
Stay in the trenches there of the defensive line. You guys had some success getting pressure on Liberty with 4 sacks, and looking at the game last week, looks like JMU had some success on putting pressure on the Louisville quarterback as well. You think that's an opportunity for you this week?
There could be some opportunities there. JMU's defensive front was very impressive. I mean, I don't have their roster in terms of how experienced they are, but they certainly looked the part. They did have some success against Louisville. Louisville had 2 weeks to prepare for us. I'm pretty sure they're going to look at the tape and figure it out. Their offensive line is very athletic. They come off the ball with really good intentions. They're well coached up front. And again, it's going to be a great opportunity for our boys to sharpen iron against a really good unit. And we're going to go out there and throw fists and be aggressive aggressive and play our type of ball and let the chips fall where they may. We're going down there to try to win.
As you know, the leading rusher for JMU against Louisville last week was a quarterback. Is that something you feel comfortable having our quarterback just tuck the ball and run, or do you think that's not really part of his skill set?
It can be. You saw a little bit of that. It was off schedule. It wasn't a design run. I think we have to be mindful of how we use Drew in that capacity. He's not necessarily built to run the football multiple times in volume. I think it has to be a situation where it's strategic and is intentional, and we can't allow him to take too many hits on his frame. So that could be a part of it. You could see a package where we have Lucian in and kind of taking those opportunities, but we'll have to evaluate that and see it.
I'd ask about the secondary as well. There were some busted plays, first half in particular. Working on that this week.
We've been working on the last 2 weeks. We saw that against Cincinnati, and that's experience. It's stuff that we've done day one install, and it's about your focus. It's about being mindful, knowing the situation, knowing the plan, and executing that plan at a high level. And there were some miscommunications yet again within the back end, and that's constantly going to be talked about and really emphasized throughout the course of this week and really for the rest of the season, because this unit is still relatively young on the back end, and we're still trying to grow and develop each and every week.
Coach, it looked like Dorian Pringle left the game late in the fourth quarter. Do you have any update on his status heading into the Louisville game?
Not yet. I haven't got that report yet.
We have any more questions? I know we got someone from Louisville on the call.
Okay.
Alexis, do you have any questions? What? Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Okay, Alexis, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Just 2 questions real quick, Eddie. First one, Jeff talked about just kind of seeing each other from afar. What have you seen from his coaching career? And he kind of joked and said he's glad he didn't have to tackle you as a player. But what have you seen from him as far as kind of his rise in coaching? And then second, how many visits have you gotten to Louisville? I know you came once as an analyst, but how many times have you been to Louisville in your experience there?
Wow. Well, first off, Jeff's career, he's had a phenomenal career. Really impressed with his body of work through the years, certainly now at Louisville. Not surprised that he's got these guys playing at a high level. Clearly, he's a great offensive mind coach, but just all 3 phases, it's just well thought out. He covers a lot of all the fine details you look for a team. You look at how aggressive they are, how they play, how disciplined they are. They're fast, they're physical. So I'm not surprised at all by the success that he's having as a head coach, and I've admired his career, certainly when I was an analyst there. So over the years, I may have come to Louisville a few times. In fact, Louisville was recruiting me when Howard Stellenberger was the head coach there, and they wanted me to play linebacker. So that kind of ended that conversation quick. But a good friend of mine, Robin Oben, who went to Fork Union, was at Louisville, played at Louisville too. So I'm very familiar with the university. When I've made my trips up to Columbus from Nashville, I would drive through Louisville, pass by the stadium, and little did I know that I would be playing or coaching there as coming up this weekend. So very familiar with the university, where they've grown, how the university's grown over the years in terms of going to the ACC, and just the amount of investment that's been made into their program has been phenomenal. And it's really awesome to see how sustainable it's been in terms of the competitive nature that you guys have built over the the years. When you think about Louisville, you think about just basketball. For some people, but they have over the years become a true powerhouse in football, and that's sustainable. So kudos to the leadership and the vision of the constituents down at Louisville.
Thank you.
Jackson Cleather, ACC Special Teams Player of the Week for the second time. Just his season so far, and just sorry, Mac.
Okay,
my bad. I was reading the wrong thing.
I was like, hold on, okay, it's fine.
He was so good. No, Mac, Special Teams Player of the Week.
No, Jackson is having a great year for us so far. Still a long season to go. I think he understands that. He's just, again, it goes back to his preparation, his camp. He had a really strong camp this summer, stayed healthy, locked in. You could see him grow from practice to practice, and it just carried over into the season. His confidence is high. Even when he didn't make one against Cincinnati, he never wavered. So, Alex Baird has done a phenomenal job of really keeping his count right during the course of the week, making sure he stays in rhythm with his routine, and being mindful of the surfaces that we're kicking off of at certain times to make sure he's comfortable. So he's going to be needed throughout the course of this year, because might be some games where it comes down to that kick, and I feel really good about really our entire special teams unit. All four core, from punt return to kickoff return to our coverage teams to our punter. Henderson's also been phenomenal flipping the field and putting our defense in a good position by having them down inside their 5-yard line. So we're really starting to play complementary football, but yet there's still a lot of games to be played.
Thanks, Coach. I think that concludes. We'll see you in Louisville.
Thank you.
We'll have Gideon Lamb. Michael Burwell, would you like to start?
Yes, please. Gideon, just the defensive effort from the other game. Like, how big was that? After Cincinnati was able to have success in the passing game. How big was that to bounce back against Liberty?
Yeah, it was huge. We finally went out and did like what we've been doing all of camp. We know how many turnovers we caused during practice, and it was great to finally see that come on the field, and especially after our hard loss the week before against the great team Cincinnati. Seeing it finally come through, playing great in all phases of defense. The secondary, linebackers, D-line, all getting active, all getting stats, turnovers. Is great for us.
Obviously, Coach George and you guys put a huge emphasis on stopping the run. You guys are facing a very, very talented running back this week. How big of a test is this going to be for you guys, to stop the run and really limit them?
It's going to be a great test. I know they have a really good running game, great running backs there. And, I'm excited for the challenge. I know everyone on the defensive side of the ball is really excited to go into this week at Louisville.
Special teams, when they're flipping the field and you guys are downing punts inside the 5, down at the 1, even inside the 20, how much does that kind of energize the defense, with our team being backed up so far and really having to work to get out of there?
Yeah, it just speaks to the efforts of the special teams, because especially Darius Lorfil, he ran all the way down and stopped the ball inside the 1 and went right back out on defense. That's just an insane effort, and just the kind of guy that he is, and really speaks for our special teams and the defense. And it makes everyone when they're backed up at their own 1-yard line, makes us want to go a little harder.
What do you think's been the biggest improvements that you've seen from the defensive unit throughout the first 3 weeks of the season?
Biggest improvements is our communication. That was our biggest issue at Cincinnati. We weren't all on the same page at all times, but this past game we were. There was no blown coverages or anything like that. Sure, a few mistakes happened from every position group, but we were all on the same page every single time. I really showed in the stats after the game.
Talk a little bit about what it's like playing with Dorian as well. The linebackers are kind of leading the way on the defensive side right now.
Yeah, playing with Dorian's great. He's absolutely incredible to watch. I mean, I've never felt so confident being next to another guy on the field. You know, being two linebackers out there, you guys are partners. You know, even off the field, we do everything together. You know, and it just makes me even more confident. You know, knowing that he's by my side, and you know, I'm so excited. I've been so proud of seeing how well he played. You know, it's been absolutely awesome.
And when you came in before the season started, you were excited about playing at this level. Obviously, a great resume for you. But has it been everything you expected it to be so far?
Yeah, it's been more, especially after like playing at Cincinnati was great. You know, there's a lot of people there. You know, obviously it was, you know, a little nerve wracking, but just football. Then coming to this homecoming game, having I think over 20,000 people here at the place, the school that I love, it was absolutely phenomenal. You know, and being able to get that win with this whole team, you know, going in the locker room chanting Isaac Zumba after is like one of the best experiences of my life. You know, there's nothing like that after a big team win. So it's been everything and even more.
Any questions? Getting just from a forcing turnover standpoint, you know, you guys have been working so hard in practice. You know, Coach George talks about trying to get the ball loose, and it kind of came to fruition this past week. What's that been like? And just like as you move forward, just trying to continue to kind of create those takeaways.
Yeah, it's something that we harp on every single day. You know, everyone's trying to rip at the ball. I kind of feel bad for the running backs because, you know, every time they get the ball, we're mugging them. But even like Sundays, you know, we're out on the field and Sundays, and one of the only things we do as a defensive unit is a turnover circuit. And, you know, it's really fun to see how that pays off on Saturdays.
Thanks, Gideon. We got any more questions? All right. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Finn, obviously the last time you guys played an ACC opponent, you had a spectacular game, got the big win at Georgia Tech. You know, what did that game do not only for you, but just this program in general to be able to pull out, you know, that win in that environment a couple years ago?
Yeah, those are the kind of games you dream of coming to a MAC school, you know, getting an opportunity to go to those big schools and come away with a W. So, yeah, it was an awesome experience for me. Definitely provide myself with a lot of confidence, things like that. You know, it's just showing myself that I am capable of making those plays in a big time situation, games like that. So, yeah, I think confidence is a big thing. Like I said, it's great for a program like ours to go down there and get those big wins, and it's something that Bowling Green's known for in the past as well, Minnesota for another example. But, yeah, hoping to go down and get another one of those this weekend.
For sure. Obviously, Louisville, very talented, both sides of the ball. You know, what's just a big focus, you know, heading into, you know, obviously another pretty tough matchup here?
Yeah, I think getting off to a fast start is a big thing for us right now. I think that's something we've lacked kind of in the first 3 weeks, just kind of getting a slow going on the offense, and then second half we kind of hit it running. But, yeah, getting off to a hot start, you got to play a full 4 quarters if you want to win these kind of games. So that's definitely a big goal of ours this week.
Between guys like you and Jacob Harris, obviously tall, physical receivers, who can win the jump ball, you know, how much do you really kind of take pride in that and really try to help Drew out, and, you know, knowing he can throw the ball up to you guys and you can come down with it?
Yeah, you know, I obviously know I'm not the fastest guy on the field. I'm probably not the best route runner on the field, but, you know, we definitely take pride in being the guys that are going to go up and make a play when he puts the ball in the air. So that's something that we continue to try and do a good job of and be those kind of guys for Drew when he gets in those situations. And, you know, that play comes up, being able to go up and make those plays, because those are definitely big time plays.
How much confidence do you guys have right now as a unit after the big homecoming win against Liberty?
Yeah, great. I think, you know, 2 years ago we went down to Liberty and we took an unfortunate L. So I think being able to come back, get that kind of revenge game, I guess if you could say it like that, but just to show that, you know, we can stick in games and play a full 4 quarters. I mean, the defense played unbelievable. They played an entire game for sure. So like I said earlier, just having the offense try to get to those, playing a full game as well, not just, you know, coming into the second half playing well, but actually get it going in the first and second quarter will be a big deal for us. So, but yeah, definitely a lot of confidence. Really nice to kind of get it going as we go into the end of the non-conference play.
Coach talked as well about the offensive line. They've struggled a little bit with the new quarterback, trying to get in sync with them. Does it take you guys as receivers a little time as well to make that connection? Do you feel like that's getting better and stronger as you go along?
Yeah, definitely. Like Drew got here kind of, you know, in June, May time, so not a whole lot of time to get prepared, you know, where a lot of guys have a full year or they've had a couple years. So, yeah, definitely a big thing. Connection with the receiver, timing, things like that. Depth on routes is a big deal. So, yeah, it's definitely something that, you know, we worked on a lot during the summer and through fall camp, but it's never quite the same as it is in a game. So getting these first 3 games kind of out of the way, trying to figure it all out has definitely been a big deal, and I think we're taking the right steps for sure.
Finn, a lot of talk about the atmosphere on Saturday, the homecoming crowd. Playing in front of a crowd like that, can that help this team as you go on the road this week?
Absolutely. I think Bowling Green's done an unbelievable job of just like developing the community around the football program and school in general. Since, the couple years I've been here, I've seen growth every year. So yeah, it's unbelievable. It gives us a good entry level, a good experience into those big games where, you start hitting 60,000 or so people in the stands. So yeah, having the opportunity to play in front of a crowd like that in homecoming is unbelievable. And so that's a big props to BG and everything they've been doing for sure.
Gideon just mentioned kind of their turnover circuit drill that they do, or drills where, he kind of feels bad for the running backs because they keep punching the ball and everything like that. Like, how intense are those defensive drills, and how hard does that defense go to try to get the ball?
Huge, yeah. Ball security is a big thing that since I've been at Bowling Green has always been pushed, offensive and defensively. Offensively, we don't want to turn the ball over. That's one of the biggest, margins between winning and losing is whether or not you turn the ball over. So we've done a great job of that so far, and we hope to continue doing that. But yeah, defense has been unbelievable, especially this last week. They call it the ski mask mentality, and they're going in there and they're going to steal it and knock it out. So yeah, they throw some crazy punches in practice trying to knock the balls out. So yeah, but no, as you can see, it's starting to translate onto the field. So.
Any more questions? All right.
Drew, I think Coach mentioned the other night, I think you maybe had a little bit of shoulder tightness. I guess just how are you feeling, I guess, at this point now?
Yeah, no, I feel great. Went out there and played on Saturday and felt great out there. So, just always got to take care of your body and feel great.
Obviously, Jacob Harris had a real tough touchdown catch, really nice play. I mean, Finn Hogan, kind of a jump ball and comes down with it. Like, what's it like having, some really big targets like that where, you can basically just throw it up for grabs and, they've proven they can come down with it?
Yeah, Finn and I have worked all offseason on those kind of balls. And, Finn on that third down catch, Jacob in the red zone, got Jaron Johnson across the middle twice, Brennan Ridley with a nice third down catch. And, anytime you get the ball in number 2's hands, RJ, he's going to make some shake. So those guys are they come to practice every single day with a very good mentality. RJ's a great leader. He's very vocal, and we're just building that chemistry every single day and all throughout camp. And we're excited to keep growing and keep throwing the ball and getting the ball in those guys' hands because Jacob Harris, if you go watch his high school basketball highlight tape, he's two-hand dunking about every single clip. So he's got a big catch radius, and I'm excited for him because his first touchdown, and it's good to get those guys going.
13 penalties against Liberty. Coach said 9 of those were pre-snap. What has been the message last couple days about eliminating those penalties? Yeah,
no doubt. We had practice yesterday, and Coach George hits the nail right on the head. We had to run the stadium a couple times, and we have penalty runs, and so he handles that business. And that's something that we can't do. We can't start behind the chains, and we got to stay ahead of the chains. And that's like you said, those pre-snap penalties are all avoidable, and it's something that we're going to focus on this week and make sure that we hammer down, especially me and the O-line and all that stuff. So, that's something that Coach George harps on, and he's not going to let it slide in the future. And so we're going to do our best moving forward there.
The atmosphere Saturday night here at the Doit, how does that compare to some of the other places you've played at over the years?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, the homecoming game, those fireworks after the game, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like that. I love the Doit. That atmosphere coming in to this stadium every single week is incredible. Our fan section over there, I love it. When that little scuffle happened, they had our backs, and I love the Doit. And comparing it to other places, I play here every week. This is my home, and so I put it as number one. I love the Doit, and I love playing here.
What do you see when we look at film, Drew? I think Louisville's allowing a little over 100 yards a game on passing defense. What do you see on film from them?
Yeah, they have an incredible defensive front. Their DBs are great players, and so are their backers. They're a very well-coached team. They play variations of different coverages that, confuse the quarterback, and, their front is very good. So, I'm up here scheming with Coach Partridge and doing all we can, but, it's going to be a challenge, and we're excited for it. And, they're a very good team. Look at their sacks in the first 2 weeks and in their fronts, and what they bring on third down. And so we're gonna have to prepare hard for these guys. They're a very challenging defense, and so that's what we're gonna do.
We saw the offensive line struggle a bit in this last game, some pre-snap penalties, that kind of stuff as well. And Coach talked about that when he was in here. He said it takes a little while for even a veteran offensive line like we have to get in sync with a new quarterback. Is that what you've seen as well?
Yeah, those pre-snap penalties, those are all avoidable. Just talking about discipline, that's what Coach George has been harping on with us yesterday and this week, is talking about discipline and, willing to sacrifice things for other guys this week. And, our offensive line, they work so hard. Coach Nosal, our offensive line coach, is incredible. He prepares them extremely well and doesn't let stuff slide on the field during practice. And, those guys work very hard. And, like any team, they got to get a nice groove going and work with each other. We've had a couple different guys rotate in, but those guys, they go to war and do everything they can to protect me. If I get touched, they come up and apologize, and I say, hey, a lot of it's my fault too. So, it's just learning throughout the season and, meshing well together, and, I think we're going to do that.
Looking at the film from last week, Jim, you had some success on the quarterback draw. The guy ran for 50 yards, one of the leading rushers. I asked Coach about whether or not that's in the game plan this week. I think he said pretty much he'd rather you would throw the ball. It's not really your forte, but you can if you have to, as we saw.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got to get it done when you can. But, Coach George has been saying all offseason, Drew's going to break a big run. I'm telling you, Drew's breaking a big run. So, as soon as I got between that guard and that tackle, I immediately thought of Coach George smiling on the sideline. And so I turned on the whatever jets I had and tried to get as many yards that I could. But, Coach George, again, he's an incredible leader, has made an incredible culture for us. And, I think I maybe ran a mile per hour faster because, he was hyping me up all season or all off season. So, just got to keep going and know when to be able to take off.
The turnover circuit that you guys do in practice, can you explain that? How intense is watching that and seeing that? Yeah,
it shows on the field. That was just an incredible outing by our defense. And on the other side of things, our offense, protects the ball. Our guys, really do everything they can to protect the ball. And, that's a credit to Coach George. In practice, when we practice, sometimes I get upset because our running backs get mauled, even all of camp and during the season. If they run the ball and they get stopped at 5 yards and we're playing against our defense, those guys are punching like Sugar Ray Leonard at the ball until the guy gets 5 more yards, and then the running backs have to go finish through the end zone. So, Coach George and his discipline and what he preaches about finishing, those guys are punching at the ball 24/7 in practice. And then, like you said, almost every single day we do a turnover circuit, or on the offensive side we do a ball security circuit, and it shows up, and it certainly did last week. And we called the ski mask way. Go take that thing, and so we're excited about that, and we got to keep going on that and keep having ball security on offense, and then on defense got to keep punching at that thing. But it was incredible to see offensively. It paid off. All those hits to the running back in practice, it paid off. Seeing it in the game, so I'm very proud of our defense, and we got to keep pursuing that.
Any more questions?
Last thing I'll say is shout out to our kicker, Jackson. He's been incredible all season long. As a quarterback, it's incredible having a guy go out there and having confidence that he's going to go make that kick. So just want to give him a quick shout out. He's been incredible. He's a great kid, and I'm excited he's our teammate. So happy he's on our side.